on it.
Nice. So he's just like,
I've definitely.
well, I'm also staying with a lot of dogs. I tend to spend Thanksgiving with a minimum of like 3 dogs.
And he's a night shitter. So it's like we have pads out, but he kind of like doesn't necessarily poop on the pads. He poops like around the pads. So there's been a few nights where like I've gotten up to take a piss and I've kind of stepped in a hot pile of, or a
In a
cold
nice
pile of
hot
shit.
pile.
Yeah, yeah. That's
A
how it
nice
goes.
patty.
Yummy.
I'm eating like
Yummy,
Cool
yummer.
Ranch Doritos now.
Yummy. I'm having a cup of coffee, cup of Joe. Dude, I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Nice.
I think when I texted you, I had just woken up and checked my phone. I was like, oh shit, that's right. We were supposed to do something today.
Yeah, me too, man. And I was getting ready to crap out because I've been crapping like nonstop since I had some beers the other day. Actually, I was sick the entire time I was on vacation.
That is terrible.
I'm like, yeah, man, the fucking stress just like wrecked my system. Ever since the surgery,
Uh
I
huh.
don't know. I've just felt like absolute hammered shit. And
I'm sure it's like your body trying to deal with like this heat because that's a huge stressor, like a physical stressor is like having this foreign body inside your body and all
yeah,
that trauma of like being cut into and sewn up and shit. It's
I'm trying to
definitely
heal
trying to
from
deal
that.
with that. Yeah.
And then, with the world and my life kind of falling apart, getting evicted, that
Yeah,
didn't help
that's
things.
weird. Like how that happened was super weird.
Yeah. I mean, it happened just by being honest, but I'm the what I guess you're never supposed to do these days. Everyone's just supposed to pretend everything's fine and not try and help anyone. But
Or
I'm
have an
seeing
opinion, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of that. Like it's like a pissing contest when I got here. I saw one of my cousins. Like for the most part, everyone was happy to see me. You know,
Hmm.
and everyone's kind of aware, at least of what happened. But they had kind of forgot because it's been like a month or so since that happened. Well, 2 months, shit. So
Yeah, it's been a little while. Yeah.
yeah, like basically, I saw my cousin, and she asked, like the first thing she asked, "Oh, when'd you get here?" And I was like, got here a week ago. Well, it'll be last Thursday, right? And she's like, "All
Hmm.
right, when are you leaving?" And
What?
I was like, not sure. Well, granted, like she knows that I guess I got evicted and that
Uh-huh.
I've recently had surgery and I'm technically legally like disabled.
Uh-huh.
And her response to this was, you know, like you better not try and move in with my mom, I guess.
Damn.
Because
Yeah.
for context, a lot of people have moved in with my aunt, and I feel like they've used up, a lot of her charity, and she's dealing with enough that she doesn't need like somebody else to take care of. However, nobody really needs to take care of me. I'm everywhere I go. I try to be an asset. Like I've always kind of felt like a burden ever since I was a kid, which I
Uh-huh.
guess kids in the city are.
Terrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
like
Inner city kids are just burdens.
well, it's more like so on the farm they're useful because they're free labor, right? But in the city, not really. They can't really. We can't really work. I mean, I did work. Like I remember working at a pharmacy where my stepdad worked when I was like 11 or 12. I used to rake leaves when we lived in Jersey for money, or even in the Bronx, or shovel snow.
Hmm.
But that's few and far between. That ain't exactly paying the rent because of a snow job I gave somebody for $10 when I was 12.
Yeah.
But it was at least enough that me and my brothers would, if we did it enough, we'd buy something like a
Hmm.
game or something. So just be one less thing that our mom would have to deal with. But I was not suited for school, given the autism.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I just had to mute the mic for a second so I can cough. But I was not suited for school, so that caused a lot of stress for my mom. And plus, like, no doctors knew what was wrong with me, or teachers for that matter, or counselors, because of the high intelligence. Like, I was basically like masquerading as a normal person, because I presented very well. I had good manners
Yeah.
for the
It's
most part. I
literally
was
called masking.
Yeah, I was I was very well socially acquainted. I was decent at making friends for the most part, but I sort of developed those skills out of necessity because I always knew that I was weird. Especially, my sister used to call me a freaking weirdo. She used to call me Corky. Like, she once prank called someone and said, "Have you seen my brother Corky? He's lost. He might be out in your yard."
Oh shit! Wow. From what's
From
the name
Life
of that
Goes On.
show?
I think it was Life Goes On.
Obla di, obla da. Life goes on. Yeah, I remember that show. It was like on the Family Channel or something.
Yeah, which I don't know if I sent you the hot downs video.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He did.
All right, but yeah, those comments were
Almost,
absurd, but
it's
I agree
almost
with all
like
of them.
they had to nerf her or something like that.
God had to nerf her.
Yeah, that's funny.
One was like, this is God telling me that I need someone special in my life. It's
Ah,
like, she's a perfect 47 out of 46.
ah, jeez.
There's the first time I ever noticed the term chromosexual.
Yeah, yeah. Some of those comments were freaking wild.
Yeah, but hot downs is a thing now. It's dangerous. I saw.
Danger.
I don't know if I showed you the other video. It was sports related. So they were like, there was a Green Bay fan and a Detroit fan, and I think they saw like a no, they saw it was a Green Bay fan and a Vikings fan. Like, one of them was wearing a Green Bay jersey, the other one's wearing a Vikings jersey, and they saw a Detroit fan. So they go up to it, it's like, oh, look at this bastard. We got some common ground. Let's go get him. They go tap the guy on the shoulder. He turns around. He's full down. He's like, hey. They're like, hello, sir. Like, they were gonna fuck with him, and
Yeah.
that confrontation dried up real quick. They shook his hand, and then they just both walked away. Like, I hope you have a fun time at the game. He's like, thanks.
Yeah, imagine how evil you'd have to be to like go through with that. It's like we don't care what your chromosomes are.
No, I mean,
We like that
they weren't gonna,
team.
they weren't like those kind of scumbags. They weren't like Boston jerk offs where they're gonna jump somebody. But I would have still messed with him. Like, that's they're not giving him enough freaking credit. He definitely understands rivalries. He understands rivalries,
Yeah, he
regional
probably would
stuff.
have fun with it too.
Exactly. I would have freaking let's see if we can't get seats next to each other. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I always kind of felt like a burden my whole life, so I tried not to be, and it's really hard for me to ask for help. And then, like, certain people who should offer help don't, and I kind of feel like I'm trying to like narrow it down. It seems to be like you're more likely to not have empathy if you went to college after 1999, which is when they turned on the Matrix.
Yeah, is that a thing?
Well, because when the internet came out, it was mostly like run by nerds, and it was, freedom. You went out there, you did all crazy
The
stuff.
Wild
You got
West. Yeah.
exactly right. It was just a
No
thing, and
rules.
nobody with power really cared about it. except Bill Gates. Then he started getting into trouble, and everyone started realizing, oh well, like he got hit with the Sherman Antitrust Act, which
Hmm.
I don't know if they've used that, because he had a monopoly and he kept buying up all these software companies, and I guess he wasn't political, so he wasn't like donating correctly his kickbacks to get
Yeah.
protection from the official mafia of the United States.
Hmm.
So he ran into trouble with them, and then after that he started like donating, I think, to both parties. But like Windows had this thing called like DSO exploit, so that's what that was. I think there was a back door in the Windows system that was designed just for the government to be able to get into,
Hmm.
a window in your Windows system, if you will.
Poetic.
And he and people quickly, anybody who knew how to code or quickly found that and then started making viruses to exploit this weakness. So then they had to make more antivirus like software
And
and
that
stuff
becomes
like
a whole
that.
business too.
Yeah, which is fine.
It just
Innovation is
created
good.
two industries.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Every problem is usually also a source of progress at the
Yeah.
very least.
But it's almost like I feel like a lot of these antiviruses almost act like viruses in a way. Like they keep on popping up and shit. I'm like, I don't want you. Get out of here. I
Yeah,
wish
it
I
is
could
pretty
just have a
annoying.
system with zero bloatware. Like if I don't want it to have any program on there that I didn't put there myself or want there.
Yeah, it's annoying, and the reminders, like I was getting reminders for months, like you should renew your antivirus early and save, which maybe I should have, but I'm not sure if I still don't
So
have two active antivirus subscriptions that I'm only
I
using one of them.
don't have any. I don't have any antivirus at all. I just stay away from like shady sites. Like I'm sure some of the sites that I think are legit probably have some of those issues, but I just haven't. I remember like in the 90s, I had a computer. It was the first computer I bought. Eventually, it just didn't work because there was so many pop-ups and shit, and I learned my lesson.
Hmm. Yeah, um, I definitely learned that lesson, or didn't learn that lesson ever, because I was always having problems, but I got really good at fixing those problems
There you go.
for a while. I used to be the guy that would come fix people's computers when they got viruses from Kaza or LimeWire.
Yeah, I that happened to me. That's probably like the main culprit.
Yeah, well, it happened to me a bunch of times, right? And trying to figure out how to deal with those
And then like
was pretty
downloading things that
interesting.
are labeled one thing, and then it's just like something completely different.
Yeah,
You think
like
it's one song, and it's like,
one time I had to do that to I was doing the reverse, right? Like I was finding the thing that I was looking for labeled as something else,
that's funny.
and so like I started searching for that thing so I could find more of it. But I was a teenager, so it was just free porno.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that for me as well.
But anyway, back to Thanksgiving. So yeah, that was good, but it was kind of awkward with me and that particular cousin because
Why is that?
repeatedly, because she kept bringing it up. Like I already told her, no, I'm not planning on moving in with your mom or anything like that. I was at best, I was maybe gonna ask my dad if I could use his address as a mailing address for right now,
Uh
um, because I know my brother is tired of getting my mail. He called me today, like I'm gonna send you your mail. So I don't have a legal address to send shit to or to change it to,
yeah.
and if the worst thing you got to do is deal with someone else's mail.
Yeah, it's like, what's the rush? What's the big deal? Just put it in a shoebox or something and put it in the closet. till he comes
No,
back. Or
well, I mean, he went to college after they turned on the Matrix, so his life has to be completely controlled and perfect, which is what was going on with my cousin, and she was my other cousin, the female, the one that said that. You know,
uh
she hears homeless and disabled person, and she's like, "Oh man, we got to get rid of this guy." Not like
Jesus Christ.
here's my family member who's in trouble. You know,
Yeah.
it's here's a problem that I gotta head it off. So she like came down because I had sent my winter clothes here
Uh huh.
because I didn't want to take them with me to the Dominican Republic, right? She's like, "Oh, are you moving in?" And I said, "No." I just
Should
said
have
it a
said
lot
yes.
louder.
Why?
No, I don't lie. That's one of the fucking problems with autism. Very hard for me to lie, especially when someone asks me like a direct question like that, and especially when I had no intention of uh, moving in here. I was thinking about moving to Ohio. Like IBM has like a factory open up. I think Google has a spot opening up here, like a
Nice.
chip factories and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if you're into like tech, Central Ohio is on the up and up. And the other thing is they also have a lot of everywhere in the country. Like you should get like a contractor's license and pick up a trade or something because you could be a millionaire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nobody. There's everybody went to college, so everyone's just really good
Yeah.
at filling out paperwork, not good at fixing anything.
They're probably not that great at filling out paperwork too.
That's true.
They have people that help you with that at college.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like even like with your grades and stuff. There's probably people like who are more likely to pass you than fail you because the longer you're in
Yeah.
college, the more you're gonna pay. If you drop out of college your first semester because you failed out, guess what? You only have like a few student loans to pay off instead of
Yeah. The
like
standards are becoming lower and lower for sure.
yeah, because
I was
the
watching a
it's a
little
business.
documentary on that.
It's a business. They don't
I
care who
mean,
their customers are. They don't care what results they get. They just need
yeah, they
more.
just want money.
You
Yeah.
gotta you gotta expand.
Yep. They were
And
talking about like kids, like a lot of like younger kids, like the standards are being lowered for them to pass on to certain grades, but it's at every level that's happening.
well, part of it
But I
is
guess
they
there,
kind of have to because they're not going to have anybody who's qualified for anything anymore one day. However, they
I
haven't
think that's the
addressed the
plan.
issue. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They haven't addressed the issue of how shitty the education system is. They're like delusional about it.
Yeah, they're
American
not
education is
teaching
the
kids
best.
to write anymore. They're learning terrible math. I don't think we have the best educational system at all.
Oh no, I was never under that delusion. Like I saw the difference of it when I went from New Jersey back to the Bronx.
Uh huh.
Right. So I started school like I was born in the Bronx when I was about like 4. We moved to New Jersey because one, a lot of our family had already moved out there. Most of our family had already moved out there because in the 80s the Bronx was absolute shit, right? Well, one of my earliest memories is driving through a street and I guess they had shot out the street lights and there was just like a single oil drum fire going.
Oh, fuck.
It was like
What are we in
Mad
Gotham
Max.
City?
Yeah, it was like Mad Max or something, just that one street in the Bronx had no street lights and they had just an oil drum fire lighting it and there was no one around that. I was like, this is a fucking trap. That oil drum fire is just to screw with your night vision. Someone's gonna come out and rob you. Go down there. So we didn't even turn down that
Word.
street. I remember that much. But
Terrible.
so we moved to Jersey and I started um I started kindergarten in uh in New Jersey. Then we moved to another town in New Jersey and I started first grade there. And around I guess fifth grade I got left back. I was at a
Okay.
teacher for whom
Don't be
So
sorry.
so yeah, and that's where I started getting it. Becoming aware of like how stupid the education system was because I was dealing with horrible things at home. But this teacher didn't pick up on it, and the previous year, my grades had started to slip. Like I wasn't doing homework at all. Sometimes I would just do it at school if I had it early enough, but for the most part, it
Uh
just
huh.
seemed to me like I'm at home now. I'm more trying to not get my mom angry or wake her up. So just staying quiet or staying out of the house when possible. I used to tell
Homework was
mom,
always a terrible thing for me. It would always take like hours, like way long, because I just didn't want to do it, and I just couldn't pay attention to it. I think because I have like ADHD.
mm-hmm.
So then my dad would like sit with me at the table for hours and not understand why I couldn't pay attention to what we were doing. It was so yeah, it was so bad.
It was boring, first off, and it was just like usually a repeat of the crap you already did in school.
Yeah, pretty
It was like
much.
school part two, right? So there's some conspiracy theories as to why they started doing this. Oh, put everything on a clock, make school X amount of hours long, make them do homework. So anyway, this particular teacher, right, that left me back, 50% of the grade was homework, right? 50% of the grade was some shit you did when that guy wasn't even around, right? So 50% of my grade was homework, and I didn't do any homework. Like I think 2 semesters in, because what I used to do is I come home and I just tell my mother I don't have any homework or I already did it or something. And then I'd go screw off somewhere.
Yeah. What was better homework for me, which wasn't even homework. It was like when they would go over what you learned yesterday in the beginning of the next class. That always solidified the ideas in my head way better than doing homework.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying because it's like it's setting appropriate too. You're in class, you're already probably used to being in class by then, and this is what you do in class, and all your peers around you are doing their work. And if that's the case, then you're more likely to do your work because you don't want to be a dick,
Yeah.
just like be the
I
only kid
always
like
did
walking
way
around.
better. I always did way better in classes where they did that.
Yeah. So this teacher, they used to make me eat lunch in front of the principal's office, and I'd have to like do the homework. And at first, I didn't bother doing it. 'Cause like I said, I was at this point, my shit home life had extended now to like school, and I just kind of didn't care. I was in fifth grade, and me and two other kids who were dealing with similar situations had to eat in front of the principal's office. But I eventually made up all my homework. By the end of the year, I made up all my homework and I gave them to him, and he was like, "Well, these are all in half credit."
Yeah, right. So I went through all that work for freaking half credit.
Yeah, so let's say otherwise I was getting like a C without the homework or something like that. With the half credit, you know, half of a C is a freaking F. And then twenty
Yeah,
five
so you did all
percent.
that work just to fail.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just like a punishment. And that's when I kind of became aware that school might not be about teaching kids
Oh,
things
it's about
because
teaching them. It's about teaching
I
them things.
I knew all the things. I passed all the tests. I had proof most of the tests except for math.
It's just not about teaching them the things you think they're trying to teach you.
Yeah. So that was the other thing. I think math was also like 25% of your grade.
Gee.
So I got
Yeah,
left
I was
back.
always terrible at math.
Got left back in fifth grade. The guy I had next year, much better teacher. He taught me critical thinking. he taught me like patriotism. Like we used to he taught us the Star Spangled Banner. Like we always did like the salute to the class, but he taught us the Star Spangled Banner, and what the stuff he was teaching us in American history meant, and what it was supposed to be, right? What the
Hmm.
founding fathers were talking about, like freedom and rights, right? So I understood that better. He had like animals in his class, and if you got
Oh,
your
that's
work done
cool.
early, you got to go take care of the animals, right? So you always wanted to do that, and it was another
Yeah,
thing you could bring, like how kids you find, like, well, maybe you don't know because you were in the Bronx most of
it's
the
like a
time, but
meaningful reward.
like if you find like an animal you want to keep it as a pet, most of the time you're not
Now,
going to
all
be
the
able to
animals
do
we
it.
have are pigeons and rats.
Yeah, but like if you went out and you found like a lizard or something, or like a frog, and your parents were like, I can't keep it, you bring it to class. Butterflies, whatever. We had
Yeah,
caterpillars. We had all sorts of
that's
things,
cool.
and he'd teach you about that, and it was interesting. He made you want to learn. Whereas the other guy was like, he had a podium, uh, like he had his desk, and he also had like a podium, like he's
So it was like
like a
an
college
ego thing.
professor. Yeah, I don't know. He was a psycho, man. He used to have like a golf club that he used to bang on his desk, and if he saw you or thought you weren't paying attention, because he used to like think he caught me like slacking, but I'd usually be done with my work, and that's why I was drawing in the margins of my notebook.
Yeah.
Right? Was he'd walk around with like a big, like heavy book, and then he'd slam it onto the desk, like because he thought you weren't paying attention. So like most of the time, I pretended not to notice he was coming. I was always tempted to just put my hand right under that, but I didn't know how bad breaking your hand would be. I was like, he'll get in trouble if he hits somebody with that book. I know he will.
Oh yeah, for sure. Will I
Yeah, that.
take the bullet?
Yeah, well,
Teach him a lesson.
I mean, I ran out of school on this teacher because I was talking about like freedom of speech or something like that, and he was like, "You got to
Yeah.
talk back to me." I was like, "What about freedom of speech?" He was like, "Ha ha ha!" And he started laughing at me. So I was just like, "Allow me to make your life a living hell," and I just dipped out of there.
Oh shit. Yeah, because it's actually kind of scary. Like if you're an adult and like you have a kid that's like just willing to like jump out a window or just like disappear.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
like,
I
well,
lived right across the street from the school, so this is actually the second time I ran out of school. The first time was in third grade, similar situation. Teacher bullying me. I was just like, you know what? I'm leaving.
that's such a weird sentence. A teacher bullied me,
Yeah, well, I
but it
had a messy,
happens.
messy desk, right? And I sat next to like this really cute girl whose name was Jennifer Lopez.
Okay.
I had a, This was in third grade. I had a crush on her, right? And I had all these like snack wrappers and stuff inside my
Yeah.
desk. So, because we had like snack time and we had lunch. Now, usually during lunch, you're allowed to like walk and move around.
Uh huh.
Like during snack time, you mostly just have it at your desk. So I'd want to draw or
I didn't know
stare
you
at
were such a
Jennifer.
drawer.
Oh yeah, couldn't stop. But so I just had all the it was just snack wrappers from snack time, from like
Yeah.
maybe 10 snack times. So it was 10 like ho hos or ring dings or whatever. One second.
Is that what they call them nowadays?
Yeah. So the ho hos, ring dings, whatever. Ding dongs. So
That was my nickname in high school.
she kept telling me to like clean them, and I didn't want to do it in front of Jennifer because there were just like a lot of them, and she had like made a comment about like, oh, it was so dirty, and she seemed like a very fastidious and clean young girl, and I was just a sloppy little boy.
Yeah.
So I was really self conscious about it, but the teacher dumped all
Really
that
leaning
shit.
into the stereotypes, huh?
Yeah. Well, the teacher dumped that entire my desk on the floor.
That's embarrassing as well.
Yeah. And then she said, clean it up. And I said, no. And then she sent me down to the principal's office. And instead of
How
doing
dare
that,
you?
I just left. But I didn't know where to go in third grade. So I just hid on the school grounds in some bushes. Like I saw the principal leave and get into his car to come looking for me. And then I started walking in a direction because I didn't want to go home and get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
When my mom heard about it, though, she laughed and she just said, "Next time, just come home, Bobby. Like, don't do that, right?" So the second time I ran out of school, though, my principal like threatened me. He said, "If you keep doing this, they're gonna put you into like an asylum." And so it became like apparent to me that there was no way for me to ever express or talk to anyone. There was no help to be had because I kind of needed help, but I wasn't a snitch. Uh, I was always worried. Like I remember when I was a kid, my sister had called child services on on our mom. They had to do all these weird things, like they had to like look at us and take pictures of us, like in our underwear and stuff, and
Yeah.
be sure we weren't being beaten or abused. And my mother said, "Well, you could do that, but they're gonna separate you and your brothers. You're not gonna have brothers anymore. You're gonna end up in the system, and there's three of you. There's no way." And so, for their sake, and I guess our sake, I just kept my mouth shut. It was like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, which is true.
It
Even
is.
even
Well,
in this
not
even in this
necessarily.
case, I mean, the likelihood that I'd
It's a
get
gamble.
a good home situation, given my own personal situation, is not good.
Yeah.
Um, so I just shut the fuck up, and I just started trying to like really adjust, uh, which was not a reasonable thing for me to try to do by myself in fifth grade. But
Oh
I
yeah.
tried,
That's what
and that's when I
therapy's for, but that wasn't a
started
thing
make.
back then.
Well, no, I had therapy, but even like I can't really tell the therapist anything. So if I tell the therapist anything, ACS gets called. Like my mother
Yeah.
gave me like a speech. Well, she gave us like the speech bunches of times. Like, don't nobody need to know what goes on in this house. You know,
Hmm.
you don't tell on your brothers or your sisters. You don't rat on family. These old chestnuts, right? So, yeah. So I don't know. Ever since then, just became kind of aware that it was a burden. Like that, I do have a problem, and part of the problem is me. I'm the problem. It's me.
You're
And
not a
so,
problem, bro.
well, when I was a kid, I couldn't be blamed for my problems, but my some of my persistent problems are my own fault. Like not asking people for help. Although I don't know, man. It seems like there's just less and less help to be had these days.
Yeah, I mean everyone's in their own little bubble and everyone's got problems and everyone, has a similar problem, I think, with like asking for help because we have been sort of like brainwashed into this idea of individualism and like excellence. And if you don't meet the bar, you get depressed or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's just propaganda at work. I think it's all by design. I think, yeah, it's on purpose.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Uh, yeah, that's the other thing is they've sort of eroded what family means. Like they created this idea of the nuclear family, which wasn't really
Yeah.
a thing, right? You moved out maybe if you got married and you had kids, and there was already like three generations of people living in your house,
Hmm.
right? There was just no more room for you and your new wife, so that was when you moved out, right? But for the most part, you just used to have generational family. You just had a bunch of people around that if one person couldn't do it, somebody else could. You have older people who can watch the kids. They're not working, but they're contributing to the family. They cook. They teach the kids. right? But they changed that, and now it's just like it's supposed to be like a mom, a dad, and kids, and and then they amended that like it's supposed to be a mom and dad, both of them work, and now the kids spend a huge chunk of their lives with strangers who could not be bothered to give a fuck. Most of them.